Hello and welcome everyone. This is Nidhi from Designhill, your host for the day. I hope you and your family are keeping well and safe, and I would like to welcome you all to this session where we are discussing business growth and marketing strategies for small law firms. Today's event is brought to you by Designhill, world's leading creative marketplace that caters to the creative needs of businesses and individuals alike, who can source high quality designs from professional designers and buy unique products created by independent artists. So, moving ahead, let me introduce our guest for today. We have with us Stephanie Everett. Stephanie leads the Lawyerist Community and Lab. She is the co author of Lawyerist's new book, The Small Firm Roadmap, and is a regular keynote speaker at legal conferences and CLEs. Stephanie practiced at a renowned law firm for 5 years before co founding her own. As the managing partner, Stephanie watched her firm grow from two lawyers to a team of 20 in just 7 years. Stephanie, you would like to say a quick hi to the audience?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. So excited to be with you today.
Great. So before we start the session, let's quickly look at what Designhill is all about.
Looking to get your boss to remember your name? Head to the world's #1 creative marketplace, Designhill.
When my company promoted me to head up our latest real estate development project, I was excited, then anxious, then petrified. How was I going to hire the team, get the designs completed, and design beautiful presentation materials on our lean budget while impressing my bosses, some of whom are still learning my name?
Good job, Mitch.
My name's Lawrence. That's why I went to Designhill and got the design help I needed that fit within my company's brand guidelines. The process was simple. Designhill's design contest ensured I'd get a ton of results I'd love. Start by picking a number of designs that inspire you. This one's good, and that one. This one speaks to me. Then share some information about the project. Lastly, pick a package that fits your budget. Do you just want a logo, or do you want it all? Then, boom. I got more than 60 custom design options to choose from, as well as all the other graphic design assets I wanted. And it's all backed by Designhill's 100% money-back guarantee. If I don't find a design I like, I get my money back. You can't lose. Now I have what I need to make a splash at my meetings, with everything from business cards, pamphlets, posters, and more. It's real.
Let the world know it's real and build your brand with Designhill.
All right, so that was about Designhill, and we are set to start the session now. For the audiences, guys, we will take up questions during the sessions. So if you have any, please drop them in the questions tab on your screen, but not in the chat section because they might get lost there. So into the questions tab and not chat. So Stephanie, I'm gonna start with the most asked question, which is about business continuity, and this is also the question that our registrants asked. We see that COVID has disrupted business continuity for most businesses. So I'd like to ask you, how has the scenario changed for law firms? What is your take on the current situation?
Great question. Very hard to answer because it really varies, right? So we mostly work with solo and small firm lawyers, and I think we're seeing differences on the way it's impacting businesses depending on what size they're in, what market they're in, who they serve, and even like how ready they were for remote work. Luckily, a lot of people in our community, we've been preaching about remote work and going paperless and having the systems and technologies you need for this kind of environment for years. So a lot of attorneys that we work with are doing great, and they've transitioned very nicely to their home offices and they're thriving. Some businesses I know are just super busy right now, and others may be struggling. So it's really hard to answer for everyone because it really has varied so much. What I tell everybody, and I'll probably say this a couple times today, the good news for lawyers is that you're helpers, right? Like your job is to help people, help businesses. And even though it may seem like your world's turning upside down right now, at the end of the day, people still need help, and that's what we do.
Right. So you said it very rightly. And my next question is actually a follow-up question, because if we dive a little deep, and the another facet to this scenario is that since most industries and companies are at risk of halt, they might need more lawyers to lead their way. Is that the case? And has there been any uptake in demand? Will the customer acquisition be easy for the upcoming law firms?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing business lawyers that help small businesses and advise them. Employment lawyers are certainly super busy right now because employers are trying to navigate this time too, right? And what does it mean now that they have remote teams, or maybe they've had to furlough employees, or so they're navigating, regulations that are now in place that small companies or companies have to follow under COVID that we didn't have before. So certainly that's a huge segment that we are seeing that are busy right now. Another segment is estate planning. Quite frankly, a lot of people, our health is being impacted by this. And I think people are realizing in a different and new way that estate planning isn't just about planning for what happens if you die, but also if catastrophe happens while you're alive. So as an example, I was actually diagnosed with COVID back in March. I don't know, because I was definitely sick for 3 weeks, and my doctor said my test came back negative, and who knows about the testing right now, but my doctor's like, listen, we're gonna treat you like you have it. So I self-isolated in my basement, and the thought occurred to me and my husband, what happens if I got hospitalized and a family and my husband did? Who would take care of my daughter? Legally, do we have the paperwork we need to be set up for that situation? And so that's something that I think lawyers are helping families, people realize, it's not just about planning for what happens when you die, but what happens, it's possible. Everybody in the family could get sick, and what would you do? So we're seeing estate planners stay pretty busy. I'm sure there's other areas that I'm forgetting. So there's another area that's getting talked about a lot as potentially getting busy. I don't think it's quite hit yet. I think some of the stimulus packages in the US have maybe prolonged this. There's a suspicion that maybe bankruptcy is going to get really hot here in the coming months as people remain out of work, unemployment rates stay high, and people are struggling financially, unfortunately. And so we may see a more of an uptick in that area for sure.
Thank you, Stephanie. It is an eye-opener for me on a personal level as well, because right when I am doing this webinar, even though I'm asymptomatic, I have been diagnosed with COVID just this morning. Yes. So I think, yes, it's an eye-opener for me, and I'm gonna take utmost care of what you said about how I need to dig down my papers and see what possibly I can do to basically create a shield for myself and for my family as well, as far as legal uh, things are concerned. So thank you so much. That's really a good tip.
Are you feeling okay?
Yes, I'm perfectly fine. Thank you so much.
Okay, I need to make sure because
Yes.
it is scary, and it's impacting different people differently. The other thing I'll just quickly add on, for businesses, now, if you haven't done this recently, now is a great time to go in and make sure you have a good succession plan or continuation plan. So when I got diagnosed, it sort of hit our company, and we realized what would our firm look like, our business look like, if suddenly I couldn't work for an extended period of time and other people in the company were similarly impacted, right? We're in just such a unique situation now where a lot of your employees could be sick at the same time. And so we went in and made sure all of our contingency plans were kind of finalized. We have a 1-page sheet of, if I can't show up for work tomorrow, somebody can go to that page and know what to do to fill the essential roles of my job. And that exists for everyone in our company. So, I hope everybody stays healthy, and I hope that that's not the case for you. But as a business owner, we also need to be prepared for the likelihood that our folks are going to be out, right?
Absolutely. And you talked about succession planning. We're going to cover that as well in the later part of our session. But for now, moving ahead, so again, I'm going to talk a little about, making money, right? So these times, as we all know, are extraordinary. And there might be an increase in demand, but since most businesses are not making money, the fees and charges for a lawyer or a law firm can go for a toss, right? So how can that be handled? I mean, it's a very obvious question for most lawyers. Also, how can a law firm survive without reducing fees?
Yeah, I think these are great questions. And quite frankly, these were some of the things that our community were talking about even in a pre-COVID world. Because if we look at the market, there's a lot of people who are served by most clients. And so, I mean, most lawyers. So there are a lot of clients who need legal help who could use your services and couldn't afford them. And that existed even before COVID. Maybe now COVID exacerbates that and makes it more obvious. So here's what I would challenge everyone to do. Think about what value do you provide to your clients, right? I said before, you're the helper. So you obviously are in a position to help people. Well, what does that look like? What does help look like? What do they need? And I think sometimes as lawyers, we think about the way we've always done things, right? So if, for example, let's just take a divorce because that's an easy example. And so a lot of people approach it as the only thing I can do for my clients is if they file a divorce, I represent them soup to nuts from the very beginning to the very end, and I handle every aspect of their case. And that's one way of doing it, but maybe there are other things that clients actually need that don't look the same. So is there a way that you could carve out a piece of that work and do what we call unbundled services? Maybe you could create a coaching package where you just help someone at the beginning of their case understand all the aspects of the case and what they need to know, but you don't actually represent them in the court proceedings. Or maybe they need help finalizing their deal and they don't need help in other things. So I think it takes us taking a step back and looking at what is it that we actually provide of value to our clients. And maybe that means changing the scope of the work. And maybe with that comes a change in fees. But I don't think we as lawyers should just necessarily like drop our fees. Like if you're currently billing by the hour, which, you know, I hate, we can talk about that. It's not necessarily going to solve the problem for you to just drop your fees, but maybe you can be creative and think about a different way to offer your services and change the scope of what you offer and come up with a price point that works for you and for your clients. So you got to think of, I think you have to think of it globally and not just look at fees or prices in a vacuum. You have to look at the whole picture and what it is you're providing for your clients.
Absolutely. And I think when you're confident about the value proposition that you're offering to the client, you are always more confident pitching the price as well, right? And that's when that thing actually materializes with the client as well. So really great tip, Stephanie, again. I'll move a bit forward and I will talk a little about, business operation. So most companies have sought technological advancements to carry out business operations. Most of us are working from home. And but when we talk about law firms, the picture that comes in mind is that, there is a lot of ingrained manual document intensive processes, right? So how has the paradigm shifted for law firms when it comes to operating the business? And especially if I talk about, client representation in front of legal authorities, judicial bodies. So can you throw some light on that as well?
Yeah, I think we're starting to see lawyers wake up and realize that maybe technology isn't so bad. And I know that, we sometimes, it's easy for us to just remember the way we've always done things. I get that. But what we see more and more is lawyers and courts and embracing technology. And if you think about it, this is good for our industry, right? It is time for us as an industry to think about what it means to be client-centered. And that means put yourself in your client's shoes and think about what they want and what kind of experience they want. Zoom meetings or some kind of video meeting is a great example. Now lawyers are embracing it and realizing that that's a great way that they can still connect with their clients and have a video call. Honestly, it's something I have preferred for years. Like, I hate traffic, I hate driving. And so to have to take time out of my day and drive half an hour to my attorney's office and then pay to park and go into the office and have a meeting, Occasionally, I get that that is necessary, but it's so much more convenient, and I spend so much less time, and so does the lawyer, if we can just hop on a video chat like this and still have that good face-to-face interaction. So I think we're seeing that from client meetings. Obviously, some courts are now experimenting with how can they handle routine hearings. And again, evidentiary hearings, it gets more complicated, but I've heard a lot of judges in our area say, wow, doing status conferences this way is super easy, fast, and efficient. And it's better for the client. Like, lawyers aren't having to drive to court and waste a ton of time traveling just to make a 5 or 10 minute appearance before the court. So I think we're starting to see law firms recognize that it's not so bad to work from home, that they can use their technology, use video. You know, there's so many tools out there. The challenge probably is just figuring out what tools are available and then learning how to work it. For sure, it looks different. You know, we miss the coffee, hour chat in the office, but we have to be more intentional about how we communicate with our teams, how we communicate with our clients. So it's still possible to do all the things you were doing before. You just have to think through it a little bit more and make sure you're being intentional and setting up your systems in your office to deliver an amazing client experience virtually.
Absolutely, and I agree with you when you say that you hate traffic, because we all hate traffic. As far as yes, as far as tools are concerned, I would like to tell my audiences that we do a lot of events around remote working, especially after pandemic has taken place. So please do check out all those events on our YouTube channel, and you will find a lot of tips, and the tools and the technological advancements that have taken place, which probably help you and your businesses operate more easily and effectively. So, Stephanie, the next question I have literally copied pasted from our registrants list because I found it little interesting. It is about government policies. So government policy that the upcoming lawyers should be aware of. Has there been any changes lately with respect to the law and compliance industry globally?
Yes, some that are related specifically to COVID, and some that are just have been churning up and happening for years, right? So I think the biggest COVID specific related changes that we're seeing relate to signatures and document signings. Clearly, there are a lot of areas of law where an actual physical signature has been required. Estate planning is one. I think Social Security or Medicaid, don't quote me on that, but there are some others in the government where they require an actual signature, and that's more difficult to do in the world of COVID. I guess real estate closings are probably another one. So I think we've seen some regulations coming out that adjust what those requirements are, and give us some guidelines of when we can accept electronic signatures, so that we can keep those processes moving. On a whole nother scale, in case anyone's not paying attention, you probably should be. There's some really interesting changes coming out. Obviously, every state is governed by their local rules and bar associations and whatever rules they have in place to govern the regulation of lawyers. And we're already seeing some states out west really start to press those. And so things opening up opportunities for non-lawyers to own ownership in a law firm, for example, is a huge change that could have huge impacts on our industry. And so I just would encourage everyone, if you're not paying attention to that, check it out. And maybe, my opinion, don't immediately approach it as, oh, all this is going to be bad. Maybe there are opportunities that can really help us as an industry, but I think we have to be educated and understand how to work those new regulations and make sure that clients are still protected, but also that we use it as an opportunity. I mean, the idea that somebody could invest in our law firm and give us the money we need to create new technologies that might deliver an amazing client experience is really exciting. So there's a lot of opportunities open to lawyers coming on the horizon.
Yes. So actually, we also have a full-fledged questions on, the new opportunities that the lawyer may have, which we will cover in the second half, probably. And thank you so much, Stephanie, to highlight these points, and I hope the lawyers in the attendees list are keeping a tab of it, keeping a note of it, and I will repeat it once again that you will also get the recording of this video in your email right after the session ends. So no Fred. I also see a few people asking in the chat section, so you will get the recording in the email post this session. So Stephanie, now I'm going to take some questions from the questions tab. um, this is us as Rubel. He's asking how lawyers in an international context could design an intelligence commercial plan to approach more clients in the years to come.
Hmm. Yeah. So I think, if I understand the question, I hope I do,
Okay. Do you want me to repeat it once again, or you can also click on the questions tab and read it for yourself?
yeah, I'm reading it. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure
Okay. All
I
right.
got it. I hope this is what you're asking, but I think there's an opportunity for lawyers to be really intentional about their business and to grow your business by helping more people. And so what I would say is where to start in that process is with your client. You start with, who is it that you want to serve? So who is that? Is it no matter what you said, in an international context, I'd say in any context, right? So are you trying to serve international businesses, small businesses, or individuals? And so once you can start there, then you can start to think about, well, what is that person, what's keeping them up at night? That is a great question, by the way. If you haven't asked your current clients or your potential clients that question lately, just pick up the phone, ask them out for a virtual coffee since you can't connect with them, and just say, hey, I was just checking in on you. Wondering what's keeping you up at night, because that's a stressor for them, and that usually is a source of problems, right? My husband also owns a business, and he would readily tell you all the things about his business that are keeping him up at night. That's valuable information for you, because remember, you're a helper and you can help solve those problems, but not unless you know them. So really getting into your client's shoes and head and heart and brain and think about, where are they struggling? What's keeping them up at night? Where are they looking for help and information and guidance? That's going to give you the key to opportunities that you can deliver to your clients. And so if you know where they're struggling with and what's keeping them up at night, you could, maybe you have a solution already built that they just didn't even realize that you offered it to them. Or maybe you see an opportunity. Wow, turns out all 5 of my clients right now are struggling with the same thing. How could I help them solve that? That's opportunity, right? And that's where you need to be thinking to design a business that solves your clients' problems and grows from there. So I say always start back with your client, who you help and how do you help them and what does that help look like? And then you can start designing out that solution and figuring out a marketing strategy and all the things that you need to do, but it all starts back with the client and their problems. And if that didn't exactly answer what you were going with, please feel free to ask it differently.
No, but I think you actually hit the right spot, Stephanie. And I also really love how you have uh, merged the concept of empathy with that of with lawyers, right? Because we really need to get, lawyers are helpers, like you said, and we really need to get into the shoes of our clients or possible clients to know where is that area that they might need us to help on, right? So that's really good, and it's really empathy is all we need, I think. And in all leadership positions like lawyers, empathy is all we need. So thank you so much for these great answers. um we're gonna take a quick little break, and I hope you guys are enjoying the session. But before we move forward, I would like to give a quick shout out to Designhill for organizing this event. Let's take a short break and keep this interesting conversation going on.
I've always been creative and always been an artist. As a young girl, I used to paint rocks and I used to sell them for a quarter on the street. And I just fell in love with it. It just grew into a passion of mine. I started looking on the web and I came across Designhill, and they had a design contest to design a logo, and I entered it and I won. And I was like, oh, this is really great. I can pick and choose what type of logos or design projects I want to work on. And it allows me to be creative, keep my hands, with my tools and working. So it's kind of nice. It's really easy to use. You can scroll through the projects and there's sections that you could go by. It's really easy. There's a few clients who have come back to use the one-on-one projects. There's one client in particular, she owns a vintage shop, and I designed her logo, and she came back. She needed a design for a flyer, and she really liked the illustrations that I did for her, so she came back a couple of times with projects. I would recommend it, especially if you're a designer that's starting out and you want to learn from other designers, seasoned designers. It's a place to keep in the game and keep using your tools. It makes me feel great, and it kind of confirms that I should be doing this. And I love to see logos that I've designed out, and proud of that. And I think that the clients are so happy that their logo represents what they do and makes them look good. It's a collaboration. It's good for me, and it's definitely good for them.
Okay, we are back again. Let's continue with the session. Stephanie, so one of the keywords of this topic was marketing strategies for law firms, and let's talk a little about that as well. So what is that a law firm can do to nourish and activate the customer base for themselves? What would be your advice for the law firms that had just started gaining momentum, right before the lockdown?
Yeah, don't stop. Right. Look, here's the other good news. I mean, unlike restaurants and some other businesses that do require a physical location, law firms don't. And so there's no reason why you can't operate your law firm from your home, wherever you are. So, I would encourage you to, if you don't have a remote office set up yet, then get the tools you need to get that in place. Because there's really no reason that you stop your work. For the most part, you should be able to do what you need to do from home. As far as your marketing is concerned, what I just always encourage everybody to do is what I call, and you mentioned this too, strategic marketing. I think lawyers, unfortunately, we get trapped sometimes in what we might call random acts of marketing. Anyone want to confess in the chat to being one of those folks? And here's what I mean by that. You see all the things everybody else is doing and you think, oh, I should do that. Oh, I need to be on Facebook and Twitter or LinkedIn or go into coffee or join this organization. And you really haven't thought about why you're doing it and how that fits into your larger marketing strategy. So here's the good news, guys. Take a breath. You don't have to do all the things. But you do need you do want to have a strategy, again, based on your ideal client. So I saw the question just come in. What about the use of podcasts? Yeah, I say to everybody, maybe, like my question for you would be, who are you trying to attract? What is that audience? And where do they go for help and information? And if one of the answers is, yeah, they go to podcasts, they listen to them fairly regularly, and I think I can position myself well with a podcast as an expert in this category, or people will go there for help, then awesome. But don't feel like you just have to do something or should do something because it's the next hot thing or other people are doing it. I want you to be strategic and intentional and really think through what should I do based on who I'm trying to attract and where they go for help and information. And then you can build out a strategy based on that.
Okay. So I know you covered a bit part of social media into by naming LinkedIn, Twitter, and everything. But I would still ask this to you that do you think that the most sought after marketing channels these days is social media? We live in the era of social media, and there are PPC campaigns taking place where businesses are trying to acquire as well as reactivate their customer base. So if I talk specifically from your experience, do you use social media as a marketing tool for your own law firm? If yes, how do you go about it?
Yes, I think it can be very effective. And again, I think I would say like, what are we trying to do with the social media? So, and I hope my mic isn't picking this up, but or apparently they're blowing right outside my window. Sorry.
That's not a problem. That's
I
okay.
hope you don't hear it too bad. So for example, I think what I'm trying to say is you need to understand your ideal client's journey and all the different marketing tools and avenues that you can use to market your law firm, and realize that different tools have different purposes. And you might even use one tool for multiple purposes. So what do I mean by that? Social media could be used to create what we call TOMA, top of mind, can't speak all of a sudden, but you want to stay top of mind, right? You want people, when they think lawyer, they think of you. And so sometimes we use our social media just to keep that relevance up and for people to remember us and think of us and see the cool things that we're doing in the world. Sometimes we use social media to actually attract new potential clients into our funnel. And so we might run a campaign and there you want to think again about your ideal client. What are they thinking about? What are they looking for way before they think about lawyer? So maybe, again, let's go with my divorce example, because maybe that's an easy one. Before they even get to divorce, maybe they're thinking about how to fight fair with your spouse, right? Or how do I know if my spouse is cheating on me? I mean, these are things that people in hard relationships might be going to Google to solve. And so if you then can connect with a potential client early on the stage and give them information that they might be looking for, it gives you an opportunity to lead them through the funnel to maybe they get to the point where they're ready to actually hire a lawyer and they're thinking about you. I think lawyers, oftentimes our marketing tends to be focused right at the bottom of the funnel, where we only try to position ourselves as why you should hire me instead of the other lawyers, the guy next door. And what I'm trying to convey to you today is that there's a whole opportunity of a person that when they're in these situations, they go through a whole process before they get to the point where they realize, I have a problem, it's a legal problem, I could solve it by hiring a lawyer. Okay, which lawyer do I want to go hire? Now let me make that decision. And so a lot of times we're focused right here on the very bottom of the funnel as lawyers. And so so I think there's benefit to you as lawyers of learning what your client journey is, what that looks like, what a typical client might go through, and then look for tools that you can use to connect with them much earlier in the process. That's going to allow you to build up your authority, allow them to build trust and respect, because we know that people hire who they know, trust, and respect, right? And so this gives you an opportunity to do that much earlier in the process. I also would encourage everyone to start thinking about your buying habits. I don't know about you guys, but like, this is probably a silly example, but before COVID, I was in the market for a backpack. I wanted a really nice one, like a professional looking backpack that I could take to conferences instead of, I don't know, and so I found myself like searching for these backpacks, and I would watch the videos and I would look at the features, and then backpacks kept coming up in my Facebook feed, and I clicked on every single one of them. I mean, I must have looked at like 50 or 60 backpacks, and then COVID hit and I still didn't make a decision. So I'm probably going to start the process all over again. What is the point of me telling you this? Sometimes the buying cycle is very long. Sometimes if you're like in criminal law, it may be very quick because someone gets arrested today, they need a lawyer tomorrow. And so then you got to understand that. But if you're in estate planning or something that, maybe helping new businesses get started, I mean, someone may have the idea to start a new business. It may take them a year or two before that actually comes to fruition. So you have to think about your marketing campaigns and figure out a way, one, to attract people in earlier in the process, but then how are you going to stay top of mind? How are you going to continue to develop a relationship with them? How are you going to nurture them throughout this process until they're actually ready to buy? And so just start paying attention to how you make decisions when you buy things. What things are you looking at? What attracts you? What catches your attention on social media? Or why did you decide that you now trust this company and you're going to click buy? That's good information, because we're not marketers by trade, right? We're lawyers. There was no marketing class in law school. But we can learn a lot if we just start paying attention to ourselves and what other people and, all the marketing things we see other businesses doing to catch our attention.
Absolutely. It's always good to know things and the things that are in fashion that, that can probably help a business grow. And to add to that, since you mentioned that, the pain points of anyone, there's this example that we experienced in India and many other countries that, right when the lockdown started, it became tough for everyone, but it became tougher for women because, there was an uptick all of a sudden in, the domestic violence cases. And suddenly there was this need of counselors all over the world. And, the women wanted to speak and to take legal course of action where things got worse. And these are the things that possibly, lawyers, I mean, I'm not a lawyer myself, but I'm just trying to understand from what you're telling us that, yes, to address a pain point is actually something that we should be, the lawyers should be looking for. So, yes, I think this is a really great conversation, and we are really talking about a few things which are that really we really need to talk about these things. So the next question, Stephanie, is again I've copied pasted from our registrants list because they were really keen on knowing this, and many of them have asked this, which is how law firms should develop their existing strategies to come out of the crisis in the best possible shape.
Yeah, I think part is what we all just talked about. So being very intentional with your marketing, taking a fresh look at what you offer, how you offer it, how you price it. So that's going to be one whole piece of the strategy. I think the other piece of this is from an operations side, right? So one thing that I am super concerned about and really started talking about in March was the economic impact that we're going to see as a result of the pandemic. I think it's official that the United States is in a recession. I hope I'm pretty sure that that's the case now. And so I think we need, as lawyers, we need to start thinking, and business owners, how might a recession impact our business? Not just like it's going to impact our clients. And so if you haven't taken a minute to shore up your finances, now is the time to do so. Like, look, guys, I get it. I hate it when lawyers say to me, oh, I became a lawyer because I hate numbers. Guess what? If you're a business owner, if you have your own law firm, you need to start loving numbers and you need to figure it out. And unfortunately, for a lot of us, it's just that we don't understand our numbers or we're not really sure how to read them. And so we have some tools on our website that could help you. But you want to get yourself educated because cash is going to become more and more important as we enter a recession and work through a recession. Your business is going to need that. So first of all, I'd just say, look at your cash right now in your bank and how much do you have? If you didn't earn another $1 today, how long could your business last? In an ideal situation, you'd have a 2 or 3 month reserve set aside so that you'd be okay. And if you don't have that reserve, there's some things you can start doing. Start looking at your accounts receivable. Who owes you money and how much? Are you actively working with those clients to collect that money? Look, you don't have to go beat them up, but you need to have conversations with them because unfortunately, if your clients are struggling financially and they already owe you money, they might pay, they pay the squeaky wheel. And sometimes we just don't like having those uncomfortable conversations with our clients and we tend to avoid them. So I need you to get comfortable picking up the phone and calling your clients and saying, hey, I did this work, you agreed to pay me, you owe me this money. What can we work out, right? Maybe there's a payment plan or something, but you need to be in constant conversation with them. In the future, look at, getting more retainer money up front, or setting up payment plans that will work for everyone up front, or thinking about, other options. Maybe you want to decrease your payment terms so that if you send out invoices right now and you say due in 30 days, maybe you should change that to 15. But cash becomes significantly more important to you as a business owner the longer we're in a recession. So I want you to, shore up your financial house and make sure it's in good order, and keep doing the marketing so that we can keep clients coming in.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think any individual or a business who is up in the market for growth purpose, I think they have to keep a tab on their numbers, and that's the only way out. The basic knowledge, as well as to know where the numbers are going, and what is the trigger point where we need to actually take some remedial measures. So I think, yeah, these are the basic things that the business owner should be aware about. Right. So, Stephanie, I know you covered it a little in the first half of the session, but we would like to hear it again from you about, the new specialization areas for lawyers. And, do you think the impact of COVID is going to create the need for new specialization areas for lawyers?
I don't know if we're going to see like a whole new area of law, right? Like sometimes we see that, for example, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, like the legalization of marijuana created a whole new specialty where lawyers now specialize in helping navigate those things. I don't think so, because I think that what it might do is just highlight some specialties that already exist. And so maybe real estate lawyers are getting a lot of work right now because people are trying to navigate and negotiate with commercial leases because they're realizing they can't go to their office, or they can't use their office in the same way, or maybe their office needs have changed, right? So that's an opportunity. I think there's a little bit around insurance. Some people are trying to see if they can make claims under their insurance policies for like business interruption. I don't know. I think a case came out favorably this past week that might open up the possibility for more of those case claims to be made. We'll see. That's not my area of specialty, so I don't want to tell you for sure, but I know that that's something people are watching. We talked about bankruptcy. We talked about employment law. I think employment law continues to have a lot because there's going to be a lot of questions. I mean, we're seeing that right now in some of the questions coming in. If you're ready to reopen your business, what do you as a business owner have to do to ensure the safety of your employees? Are there new rules you have to put in place? Or how often do you have to, sanitize your office or create space? So employers, not just law firm owners, but other employers are going to be navigating a whole host of new issues as they figure out how to do business in this new normal or new world. I know we don't like that term, but I think this thing is staying with us in some form for a while, right? Like it's going to be, and we got to figure out how to live through it. So I think that so I don't know that it's like a new COVID practice area, unless I'm just missing something. If anybody thinks it can think of something, then please chime in the chat. But I think it's more practice areas that already exist are going to be elevated and needed in new and different ways.
Great. So, all right. So let me quickly check if there are any new questions in the questions tab, and we definitely have some. So there's this question. There's a very simple yet important question by Sam Paul. He asks, what advice would you offer to law firms considering while reopening operations? I think I know you have covered it bits and pieces everywhere, but if you can answer this, yeah.
Yeah, I think you need to, like we talked about, shore up your cash. I would question, do you need a physical office right now? And if not, what could it look like for you to work remotely? I know a lot of the attorneys that I work with have their lease was up for renewal and they decided not to keep their lease, and they're using that money in other things. So they're using that money for marketing strategies or for hiring new clerks or remote workers. And so there's a lot of opportunity now to work with remote teams and get VAs, or get these remote designers like Designhill offers. So really leveraging and using a variety of teams, or team members on your team, I guess would be the better way to say that. So that's one thing, is thinking about being really intentional about your expenses and what you're using where. Obviously, we talked about cash. I think being really intentional with your marketing strategy and who you help and how you price it. If you are going to keep a remote team, then I think you get to be really intentional about what that looks like. And so we have some resources on our website specifically around how to manage a remote team. We've been remote for a really long time. I've been remote for 3 years, and our team has been remote for even longer. And you can do it, but it comes with new and different challenges, right? Communication with team members just looks differently, and you have to be a little bit more intentional because you don't see each other walking in the halls of the office. So you need to think through both the tools that you need to be remote, the technology that you need, but then also how you're going to work in a remote environment and keep the work moving through and keep the team members updated. So all of this can be done. It's not impossible, I promise. It's actually pretty fun. It just requires you thinking through it and getting the resources that you need if you need some help.
All right. Great. So I think I'll take up the last question for the session. It is again one of the questions from our registrants. He wants to know that if there are any relaxations or rebates in terms of compliance for businesses that they should be aware of. If yes, how has that increased the workload of lawyers?
Can you say that one more time?
All right. So one of our registrants wants to know if there are any relaxations or rebates, in terms of compliance for businesses that they should be aware of. Any new thing that triggered in terms of complying? If yes, yeah, how has that increased the workload of lawyers? Is it something anything too big to be taken care of?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know. I don't know if I have all the information there, right? I think what you're asking is like, are there, programs or opportunities that you can go to get help for your business in light of COVID? Is that basically the question?
All right. No. So I'll repeat and infer the question one more time for you.
Sorry.
That's not a problem at all. That's perfectly fine. So pandemic has taken place, and this registrant wants to know that if there are any relaxations or rebates, any relaxation for a business owner, like we as lawyers you consult business owners. So is there any new compliance in place which needs to be taken care of by the lawyers for businesses, or are there any relaxations, any change in the compliance, the compliance list or compliance calendar for a business?
Right. Yeah, again, there may be, I think it's going to be state specific and even local specifics. So I know there are some some local governments that are putting new regulations in place or relaxing regulations. So I think it's hard to answer that in a broader sense. So I would check, and I don't know, since I don't practice. Actually, I don't even practice law anymore. I'm not aware of any, but I know that the lawyers that are in my community that I coach are constantly telling me that yes, they're seeing new things come out, especially around employment, workers' compensation, or OSHA compliance in the workplace. I mean, family medical leave, all of those kind of areas. We're definitely seeing new regulations come out, and I would just say, consult with your local jurisdictions and stay up on those. But I don't have specific information for you on that.
All right, that's not a problem at all. I think that's perfectly fine. And there's a lot more that's gonna come in future, in another in a matter of next few weeks. So yes, we have to be be there and know everything that's happening around us. So that's perfectly fine. Things are changing every day. So okay, that brings us to the end of the session as well. And this was indeed a value-packed session. Stephanie, thank you so much. You had such great great insights. I specifically loved the point where you merged empathy with the profession of a lawyer, how we need to address the pain points of the lawyers, how we need to step into their clients, sorry, how we need to step into their shoes and actually search for an opportunity, a problem that they might be facing. So thank you so much. There's a lot more that we could have discussed. Unfortunately, we are limited by time here. I hope you guys loved the session. Once again, I'd like to thank Stephanie to be a part of this event, taking the time out. Stephanie, would you like to say any last thoughts?
Yeah, I just shared a link with everyone. I hope you see it. That's a link to our website. If you go there and you can join our insider community for free, you get access to a whole bunch of downloads and worksheets that we have for you, including questions that you can use to think through your ideal client, to think about your budget, to think about your financial KPIs. I mean, we've just got a whole ton of information there for you. So feel free to check that out. And I'm at Stephanie@lawyerist.com. I'm always happy to connect with people anytime.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I'm sure a lot of people are going to connect with you on your social handles. And so thank you so much once again. All right, guys, this is not where it ends. We have a lot more events lined up for you in the coming days. The next event is a panel discussion on how to build a robust sales funnel to turn leads into customers. So if you guys are interested and haven't registered already, I'm putting the link of our event section in the chat where you can find all of our upcoming events. The team actually would be putting in the link in the chat section. Do follow this. To stay updated with events like this, and you can follow us on our LinkedIn page. Please also give a suggestion on the topics that you would like us to cover and the speakers you want us to host. I'm dropping the link of our LinkedIn section chat in the chat section as well. To watch this session and other such wonderful events, subscribe to our event section on designhill.com/events. And you can also follow our YouTube channel to see the recorded videos. The team would be putting in the link again in the chat section for your reference. For all the business owners who are listening to this and wish to source high quality graphic designs and build their brand today, you got to visit designhill.com. Also, we have recently launched a DIY creative tool called Designhill Studio. Be it a designer or a non-designer, everyone can create beautiful designs such as business collateral, presentations, almost everything that you can think of. To check it out, you can visit designhill.com/studio. On that note, I would like to say bye to everyone who joined us here today. Stephanie, thank you so much. Thank you so much once again. Take care, guys, and stay safe.